as we all know, that NCERT starts its introduction always with some questions. So, why an elephant is always gives birth to an elephant, and mango seed gives rise to mango tree, and such kind of questions are asked. So, these questions lead to the some answers which are related with the genetics. Some questions, and these questions are answered by understanding of inheritance. Okay, so here the branch of biology which deals with such kind of questions, that why we are having a particular characters and why these characters go from one generation to next generation, and why these characters, like, sometimes the offsprings are look exactly like their parents, sometimes they look different. So why these questions? So the branch of biology that deals with all these questions is considered as genetics. Okay, and this subject deals with the inheritance as well as the variation of character from parents to offsprings. The As I said, that they may look similar or they may look different. So inheritance is the process by which characters are passed on from one parent to the progeny, next generation. It is the basis of heredity. Okay, inheritance is the basis of heredity. Okay, variation is the degree by which progeny differ from their parents. Okay, they may look similar, they may look different. So that is variation, and it is not like they will be exactly like their parents or totally different. They may have some characters like their parents, some characters were different. So that is called as variation. Now humans knew from as early as at 1000 to 1000 BC that one of the causes of variation was hidden in the sexual reproduction. Okay, as we have discussed, that sexual reproduction is uh, bringing two gametes together, and these two gametes are bringing two different or maybe same alleles, and then giving rise to the degree of variation. So they exploited the variations that were naturally present in the wild population of plants and animals for selectively breeding. Okay, so this is, and select organisms that possess desirable characters. Okay, so this thing is selective breeding for plants and animals comes under the agriculture. So we know all these things for like 1000 10,000 years. Okay, so 8000 BC is from this time, it is 10,000 years. So this we already know and we are using it. Okay. For example, through artificial selection and domestication from ancestral wild cows, we have well-known Indian breeds. For example, Sahiwal cows in Punjab. Okay, so we have many different varieties which we have selected using artificial selection. Okay, so now next is Mendel's law of inheritance. Okay, so Mendel did significant work for understanding the pattern of inheritance. So John Grigor Mendel worked in the mid of 19th century, and he used the garden pea. Okay, he did hybridization experiments on garden pea and proposed the laws of inheritance in living organisms. एनसीईआरटी जब भी हम डिस्कस करते हैं, we have to discuss very key point words like hybridization experiment is one of the key word. Okay, which Gregor Mendel conducted on garden peas. Okay, and proposed the laws of inheritance during this period between 56 to 63. During Mendel's investigation into inheritance patterns, it was the first time that statistical analysis and mathematical logic were applied to the problems in biology. Okay, it was the first time someone used the mathematics, okay, for understanding the biological problem. So this is also one key point here. His experiments had a large sampling size. Okay, what is sampling size? Is when you are doing an statistical experiment, you need samples. So you may start with 10 samples, or you may start with 100 samples, or you may have 1,000 or 10,000 samples. The large sample size gives the uh, statistical accuracy in such kind of experiments, in data-driven experiments, which gave greater credibility to the data that he collected. Okay, credibility means that is accuracy. Means whatever he is saying on based on that data, that is correct. Okay. Uh, for example, if I have suppose um, two students in the class, okay, and I say that one is present and one is absent. Okay, if I say it like this, 50% of the class is absent because there are only two students and one is absent. So I will say 50% of the class is absent. So that gives me a wrong idea of a class. Okay, because in a class around 30, 35, 40 students are there. If I say 50% are absent, means 20 students are not there. But in actual case, only one student was absent. So if you have a large sample size, whatever the conclusion you are giving based on that will have a greater credibility. So he knew this thing. Also, the confirmation of his inferences from experiments on succeeding generations of his test plant proved that his results pointed to a general rules. Means whatever he has done was repeated by next generations. Means the people who came after Gregor Mendel and who repeated his experiments pointed to a general rule. Whatever he has said, Mendel, whatever he has said, was correct. Okay, rather than being unsubstantiated ideas, means substantiation. It was actually substantiated ideas. Okay, it is not unsubstantiated. It means without any substance. Okay. So Mendel investigated characters in garden pea plant that were manifested as two opposing traits. Example: tall or dwarf, yellow or green. So here you can see that 7 different characters are there, and which one is dominant, which one is recessive. Seed shape, round, wrinkle, seed color, yellow, green, flower color, violet, white. So this is here, it is recessive. Okay, on the right side. Pod shape, full, constricted, pod color, green, yellow, and flower position, axial, terminal, stem height, tall, and dwarf. Okay, so these are the different characters. Uh, This allowed him to set up a basic framework of rules governing inheritance, which was extended by the later scientists to account for all the diverse natural observation and the complexity inherent to them. Mendel conducted such artificial pollination, cross-pollination experiments using several true breeding pea lines. Now this is the term. True breed. He used true breeding pea lines, correct? He used true breeding pea lines, right? So a true breeding line, now this is the question. This line is the question. A true breeding line is one that having undergone continuous self-pollination shows the stable trait inheritance and expression of for several generations. Stable trait inheritance means if it is tall, it is giving only tall, 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 tall. If it is dwarf, it is only giving dwarf, dwarf, dwarf in all the generations. Okay, so this is stable trait inheritance. It is not like in one generation it is looking tall, in the next generation I am getting dwarf also, like that. Okay, or mixed kind of. So it is not giving any other character for several generations. Okay, so this is true breeding, yeah, pure breeding line. Okay, yeah, pure line we get. Some of the Mendel selected 14 true breeding pea plant varieties as pairs. So there are 7 characters which were similar except for one character with the contrasting traits. Okay, this is very important to note that if I am taking a tall plant and a dwarf plant, so if I am taking this pair, So in this pair, either all other characters are either recessive or dominant. Okay, they are true for one particular uh, for all other traits, and I am having only one character as my contrasting character. So some of the contrasting traits selected were smooth or wrinkled seed, yellow or green seeds, inflated or constricted. So inflated and full are same, or constricted green or yellow pods and tall or dwarf plants, like that. Okay. So here inheritance of one gene, or we can call it monohybrid cross. Okay, this is called as inheritance of one gene. So let's take the example of one such hybridization experiment carried out by Mendel, where he crossed tall and dwarf pea plants. Okay. Uh, See this in this figure, it is showing that how we make a cross, artificial cross. So we take a plant here, uh, we remove the anthers. So when anthers are removed, it is called as emasculation, that we have discussed earlier in the previous chapter. It is emasculation. We remove the anthers, so we make this flower as female, and we take pollens from another flower, and this give rise to a fruit, and this fruit again give rise to different plants. Okay, so this is the parent, and these are the offsprings which are coming from these seeds. Okay, so it is a tedious process. You grow the plant, you collect the seeds, and then you again grow them. So it is like you have to be very careful in labeling the seeds, that you are getting these seeds from this kind of cross. In this case, purple and white are crossed, and you have to do it for like thousands of seeds. Okay, then only you can get thousands of plants. So he collected the seeds produced as a result of this cross. So we are talking about monohybrid cross here. And first hybrid generation, this generation is also called as filial 1 progeny or F1 progeny. Mendel observed that all the F1 progeny plants were tall. So when he crossed tall with dwarf, he got tall. Like one of its parents, none were dwarf. So he made similar observation for the other pairs or traits. He found that F1 always resembled either one of the parents, and that the trait of the other parent was not seen in them. Okay, so suppose this is tall plant and this dwarf plant, all are tall. Okay, this we already know by the cross. So here we can see the cross. So you take a tall plant, you take a dwarf plant, tall. So F1 generation, all are tall. If you do selfing, you get this ratio. Okay, so the ratio of 3 is to 1 we get in F2 generation, not in F1 generation. If we take a pure tall and pure dwarf plant. Okay, here it is, let me write. Okay, so here it is TT, 3 times T there, and here it is a small TT. Got it? And like this. So here this is capital T, small t, small t. In this you will get so this, both of these are capital T, small t. Okay, like this. So when we do selfing, means we cross the uh, same seeds of this parents, we get this. So this is 3 is to 1 ratio phenotypically, and this is 1 is to 2 is to 1 ratio genotypically. We will see. Okay. So based on these observations, Mendel proposed that something was being stably passed down unchanged from parent to offspring through the gametes over successive generation. He called these things as factors, and now we call them as genes. Okay. Genes, therefore, are the units of inheritance. This is the question that could be asked. They contain the information that is required to express a particular trait in an organism. Genes which code for a pair of contrasting traits are known as alleles. Now, each gene has alleles, different forms, and they slightly uh, differ forms of the same genes. Okay, like tall and dwarf. So these are same genes, but they are giving different characters. So if we use alphabetical symbols for each gene, okay, so here we are saying that if for a dominant character we write it capital T, for a recessive we write small t, okay, this is it. And in a homozygous condition, for tall we write like this, and this is heterozygous condition, and this is a homozygous condition for a recessive trait. Okay, so this is homozygous and it is heterozygous. So capital T and capital TT and small tt are called genotypes, and tall and dwarf are called phenotypes. Okay,
Yes,
are you
sir.
guys with me? Yeah. So as Mendel found the phenotype of F1 heterozygote TT to be exactly like that capital TT in appearance, he proposed that in a pair of dissimilar factors, one dominates the other. Okay, so he got appearance as same, but he found that the genetic information or factors are different. So he said that one dominates on the other, and hence he called that dominant factor, which is expressing as parent. Okay, so that is called as dominant factor, and the other one which is not expressing or not uh, showing appearance as parent, that is called as recessive for first generation or first generation. So here this is tall and this is dwarf, and these both are tall. Okay, and in the next generation we get dwarf. So recessive usually skips one generation. Okay, so the one which is same as parent, looking like parent, is dominant factor. Yes, from here we get the law of dominance. Okay, and here the same thing is that. So here we have discussed the monohybrid cross. Okay, so from the observation that the recessive parental trait is expressed without any blending in F2 generation. F2 generation we see the recessive trait or dwarf plant. So that is called that gives rise to the law of segregation, which is the second law. Okay, so by the process of meiosis, this we know. We can infer that when the tall and dwarf plant produce gametes, by the process of meiosis, the alleles of the parental pair segregate separate from each other, and only one allele is transmitted to a gamete. Okay, this we know, and we have discussed it in our lecture also, that during meiosis they get segregated. So here you can see that capital TT is the segregated into two gametes. Here also it is segregated into gametes, and when we do selfing, so capital T is going in one gamete and small t is going in another gamete. Likewise here also. So when they get fused, we get capital TT in 1, we get capital T small t in 2, and we get small t in 1. So that gives to 1 is to 2 is to 1 ratio for genotype, and 3 are looking tall and 1 is dwarf. So that is 3 is to 1. So this comes in F2 generation. I'm repeating this thing again and again. Don't think that it will come in F1 generation if you are starting with a pure breeding line. Okay. So this is called a Punnett square. So when you express this crosses with a diagram, it was given by Reginald C. Punnett. That's why it is called a Punnett square, of course. And here the explanation of the same thing we have discussed. And let's come to this point. So here we will discuss about the frequencies of each type of uh, combination, you can say. So from the Punnett square, it is easily seen that 1/4 of the random fertilization lead to capital TT. 1/4 of the random fertilization. So whatever the fertilization combinations we have, 1/4 is capital TT always. 1/2 leads to capital T small t, and 1/4 again leads to small t small t. For F2 generation we are talking here. Okay, so 1/4, 1/2 and 1/4. So that gives a ratio of 1:2:1. Okay, is it clear? And here you have this binomial expression for this. So it is condensed into binomial expression, which is ax plus by whole square, that has the gametes bearing genes capital T or small t in equal frequency of half. The expression is expanded as given below. Some mathematics is here, which is not very difficult. So these are here they are saying that capital T or small t in equal frequency. So in a heterozygotic condition, we have capital T and small t in equal frequencies. Here you see. Are you able to see? So here you have capital T and small t, one capital T, one small t. So they are in equal frequency. Here also capital T and small t, which are in equal frequency. Here only capital T are present. Here only small t is present. Okay. So we are talking about F1 generation here. Okay. So half of t plus half of t whole square. So A is the frequency of that gamete. X is a gamete, one gamete or one allele. So half of capital T plus half of small t whole square give rise to 1/4 of capital TT plus half of capital T small t plus 1/4 of small t small t. So in mathematical way, we can say that uh, monohybrid cross with selfing of F1 generation can be written as this. Okay, half t plus half t of whole square. Okay, so this is the mathematical expression for uh, a monohybrid cross in F2 generation. Okay, so not very difficult, very easy to understand. Now, so next is Mendel did some other experiments and he conducted a cross called as test cross. Okay, what we call a test cross. So from the preceding graph, it is clear that through the genotypic ratio, the genotypic ratios can be calculated using mathematical probability by simply looking at the phenotype of a dominant trait. So without the knowledge of mathematical probability, he would have not be able to solve this problem or come to this conclusion. It is not possible to know the genotypic composition, okay, without mathematical knowledge. So mathematics is very, very important to understand the biological phenomena. Okay, that is, for example, whether a tall plant from F1 or F2 has capital TT or capital T small t composition cannot be predicted. So for T, if you are taking a tall plant, you say that I have a tall plant and I have taken its seeds. How do you know that this tall plant is capital T or capital T small t? First, you have to check whether this plant or the seeds of this plant, or the seeds which are giving rise to this plant, are of capital T type or capital T small t type. For this, you have to do the test cross. So in test cross, what we do is we take the tall plant, which is looking tall. We don't know whether it is capital T or small t. We cross it with a recessive type. Okay. So when we cross it with a recessive type, uh, okay, we get either all tall or we get dwarf also. If we get dwarf plant, we can say that this tall plant which is looking tall is capital T small t. If we don't get any dwarf, when we test cross, we can say that all are homozygous tall. Okay, let's understand this in this figure. So capital, sorry, in this it is shown using flower color. Okay, all flowers are violet. So we have a violet flower looking violet. We don't know whether it is capital W or it is capital W small w. So this is heterozygous, homozygous. I will use these terms now. So if it is homozygous and if we cross it with a homozygous recessive, we get all tall. Okay, because this dominant allele is coming in all the generations, in F1 generations from this parent. So we get all tall, so all violet. So if we get all violet, we can say that it is homozygous. But if we get white flowers, we can say that uh, it is heterozygous, because the other uh, half allele is of recessive type, and that's why when it meets with recessive, it gives recessive phenotype. Okay, so test cross is you are crossing dominant phenotype with the homozygous recessive trait. Okay, this is called as test cross, and it is used to find out whether the dominant allele is pure homozygous or it is heterozygous. Okay, or here you can say hybrid, and this is capital WW or small ww is homozygous pure, and this is heterozygous hybrid. Okay, so based on his observation on monohybrid cross, Mendel proposed two general rules. One is law of inheritance and uh, law of dominance, and the other one is law of segregation. So law of dominance says characters are controlled by discrete units called factors. Okay, factors occur in pairs. These are the conclusions of law of dominance. In a dissimilar pair of factors, one member of the pair dominates the other. So we usually look at only this point. Okay, but it is not like that. Okay, so first and second are also there. So you, whenever it comes to writing about this question, law of dominance, you have to write all the 3 points, not just that one dominates and the other doesn't. Okay, you have to write that characters are controlled by discrete units which are called as factors or alleles. Okay, factors occur in pairs. We know that alleles occurs in pairs. Or genes occur in pairs, and these pairs are called as alleles. In a dissimilar pair means one is small, one is capital. One member of the pair dominates, and that is called a dominant allele, and the other is recessive, which is called as recessive allele. And uh, in F1, F2 generation, we get 3:1 ratio. So F2, why I am saying again and again saying F2, because this is very important, because usually student gets confused and they think that no, F1 generation we get 3:1. Okay, so next is law of segregation. Law of segregation states that two factors always get segregated during meiosis, and I have said that there is no exception of law of segregation, because if it occurs, it will lead to chromosomal disorders. Okay, that is aneuploidy. Okay, trisomy and nullisomy and monosomy that we have discussed in the genetic disorders. Now, there are exceptions to law of dominance. The first is incomplete dominance. So I'm just going through the cross, that we have a red plant, pure red and pure white. White, if it is recessive, it will always be pure. So we have red pure and white. So when we cross, we get pink color in a head. First F1 generation. Okay, F1 generation. Always remember this. In F1 generation, we get all pink. So when we do selfing, we get one pure red, two pink, and one white. In phenotypic ratio and genotypic ratio, both are same. One is red, two are pink, one is white. Okay, 1:2:1. Genotypic ratio, one is homozygous R, capital R, two are heterozygous, and one is homozygous small r. So that is also 1:2:1. So in this case, in complete dominance, one question is, we get genotypic and phenotypic ratio same. Okay, and next is the examples. you have to remember the example also, that snapdragon or antirrhinium or dog flower. Okay, all are same here. So you can see here that red and pink flower you can see in this picture. So there is explanation for this, how we get such kind of uh, blending of characters. So why are some alleles dominant and some recessive? What exactly is dominance? To tackle these questions, we must understand that a gene, what a gene does. So gene का काम क्या होता है, ये समझना जरूरी है. Okay. As you know by now, gene contains the information to express a particular trait. Okay, in the form of the DNA sequence. In a diploid organism, there are two copies of each gene, that is a pair of alleles. Okay, we know this. Now, these two alleles need not always be identical, as in a heterozygous condition. One of them may be different due to some changes that it has undergone, changes which we are calling as mutations or variations in the DNA, which modifies the information that particular allele contains. Let's take an example of a gene that contains the information producing an enzyme. Now there are two copies of this enzyme, this gene, two allelic forms. Let us assume that a normal allele produces normal enzyme that is needed for the transformation of a substrate S into a product. So we know about enzymes. Okay, in 11th class you have studied about enzymes. Theoretically, the modified allele could be responsible for production of normal, less efficient enzyme, or a non-functional enzyme, or no enzyme at all. If I modify an allele, this allele, I may get a normal enzyme, or I may get a less efficient enzyme, I may get a non-functional enzyme, or I may not get any enzyme at all. Okay, so unmodified allele, in case of modified allele, is equivalent to unmodified allele. It will produce same phenotype. Okay, whether it is capital T, whether it is means capital A or small a, it will give same. Okay, result in the transformation of substrate S. Such equivalent allele pairs are very common. Okay, maybe there are differences, but they will give same phenotypic expression. But if the allele produces a non-functional enzyme or no enzyme, the phenotype may be affected. Okay, the phenotype trait will only be dependent on the functioning of the unmodified allele. Okay, so I'm saying that unmodified allele is, suppose we have capital A and small a. Okay, so if small a is okay, there is no problem in small a, that will give same kind of same phenotype. Okay, but if it is same phenotype, okay, but if this small a is affected, or it is producing non-functional enzyme or no enzyme, then that will small a, because of the presence of a small a, we will get different phenotype. Okay, so this is it same. Hence, in the example above, the recessive trait is seen due to non-functional enzyme or because no enzyme is produced. So दोनों चीजें हो सकती है, नॉन फंक्शनल भी हो सकता है या कोई एंजाइम नहीं भी हो सकता है वहां पर. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट इसका एग्जांपल है कोडोमिनेंस. सो कोडोमिनेंस में ये होगा कि दोनों जो अलील हैं दोनों ही एक्सप्रेस होंगे. यहाँ पर ये हो रहा था कि एक मिक्स कैरेक्टर आ रहा था हमारे पास, और यहाँ पर ये होगा कि दोनों ही अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस करेंगे. सो हियर A and B are dominant alleles. Okay, so we get A phenotype when both are AA, or we get A phenotype when one A is present and other one is recessive. Then we get A. So small I is recessive here. Okay, and we get B phenotype when both are B or one is B. Okay, so this condition, if this condition is there, we call it heterozygous condition, and if it is there, this condition is there, we call it homozygous condition. Okay, so it is like this, and this is heterozygous, this is homozygous dominant, And if it is small I, no allele is present, no A or B is present, then it is called as homozygous recessive condition. So when A and B both are present, both will express. Okay, you can see A as well as B. Got it? So the presence of both the alleles give the expression of both the uh, characters A and B. Okay, to the RBC. And if only one is present, one is expressed. So if B is present, B will express, A is present, A will express. If none of them are present, then O is expressed. So O allele is recessive, and that's why O is rare, because recessive are usually rare. Okay, we have seen 3:1 का ratio होता है. So O is usually rare, and in that too, O negative is far more rare than O positive. Okay, because positive is dominant allele. Got it, everyone? Vaishnavi, Srishti, Yashwini.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, so this is called as the classic example of multiple alleles. Multiple alleles means A and B are two different alleles, and other than that, we have O allele also, if it is not present at all. So we get three alleles, okay, or three different phenotypes: A, B, B, and O. Four different phenotypes we got. So one is just because of absence of both, one is presence of both, and one is presence of one and the absence of other, and the B is the presence of other and absence of one. Okay, so this is multiple alleles. So ABO blood grouping is the classic example of multiple alleles. Other than that, we have skin color, we have height, we have so these are some more examples for this. And we have studied this in pollen grains. We have studied the self incompatibility. So self incompatibility is also controlled by multiple alleles. Okay. Occasionally, a single gene product may produce more than one effect. Okay. So this is also possible that one gene may produce uh, more than one type of effect. For example, starch synthesis in pea seeds is controlled by one gene. It has two allele, capital B and small b. Okay, B is for the size of the seed. Starch is synthesized effectively by capital BB homozygotes, and therefore large starch grains are produced. In contrast, small BB homozygote have lesser efficiency in starch synthesis and produce smaller starch grains. So small और जो seed का जो size होता है वो छोटा बड़ा हो सकता है इसमें. So after maturation of seeds, BB seeds, capital BB seeds are round, and small BB seeds are wrinkled. So okay, so round and wrinkled for this. So heterozygote zygote produce round seeds. Okay, and so B seems to be dominant allele, क्योंकि अगर कैपिटल बी स्मॉल बी है तो राउंड बनता है. ठीक है, तो ऐसा देखने में ऐसा लगेगा कि दिस इज बी इज कैपिटल बी इज डोमिनेंट, बट द स्टार्च ग्रेन्स प्रोड्यूस्ड आर इंटरमीडिएट साइज इन बीबी सीड्स. ठीक है, जो स्टार्च ग्रेन की हम बात कर रहे हैं उनका जो साइज होगा दैट विल प्रोड्यूस इंटरमीडिएट, मतलब बीच का कोई साइज होगा, ना तो बहुत फुल साइज का होगा ना एकदम स्मॉल होगा, इंटरमीडिएट साइज विल बी देयर. So if starch grain size is considered as the phenotype, and from this angle, the allele shows incomplete dominance. Okay, so यहाँ पे भी एक incomplete dominance का example है ये, capital B small b, starch synthesis gene है. Therefore, dominance is not an autonomous feature of a gene or the product that it has information for. It depends as much on the gene product and the production of a particular phenotype from this product as it does on the particular phenotype that we choose to examine. ठीक है, हम किसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं उसके ऊपर डिपेंड करता है. अगर हम साइज की बात कर रहे हैं तो साइज यहाँ छोटा बड़ा हो सकता है, बट दे लुक राउंड एंड रिंकल्ड. Okay, so by the surface appearance we can say that capital B is dominant, but by the size we can say that it is incomplete dominance. Okay, so which phenotype we are choosing to examine is important. In case more than one phenotype is influenced by the same gene, if the same gene is influencing more than one type of phenotype. क्या बोलते हैं वैसे इसको? The same gene is influencing mode. That is called as pleiotropy. हाँ, क्या कहते हैं? प्लियोट्रॉपी कहते हैं इसको, है ना? आया समझ नहीं आया? चले आगे बढ़ते हैं. इनहेरिटेंस ऑफ द टू जीन्स डायहाइब्रिड क्रॉस देख लेते हैं. सो हियर ये जो है यूनिटी स्क्वायर है इसके लिए, इसमें भी F1 जनरेशन की सेल्फिंग की है, उसके बाद हमें ये देखने को मिलेगा. F1 जनरेशन में नहीं मिलेगा. We take pure round yellow and pure wrinkled green and we cross them. We get round yellow in heterozygous condition and we do selfing of this. So we get this kind of trait. So in this 9:3:3:1 ratio is there, phenotypic ratio, and you also find out the genotypic ratio of this. So that is called as law of independent assortment, where you get the plants of all types. Okay, that every combination is possible. That round can come with green. Okay, green color. Yellow can come with wrinkled and likewise. Okay, this is called as dihybrid cross, and it is independent law of independent assortment. Then there is a chromosomal theory of inheritance. So it was uh, this was worked in until 1900s. So first communication was not easy in those days, and his work could not be widely publicized. So जो मेंडल ने जो भी काम किया था वो इतनी आसानी से पब्लिश नहीं हो पाया था और लोगों तक पहुंच नहीं पाया था. Secondly, his concept of genes or factors, in the Mendel's words, as stable and discrete units that control the expression of traits and of the pair of alleles which did not blend with each other, was not accepted by many of his contemporaries as an explanation for the apparently continuous variation seen in nature. नेचर में तो लगातार वेरिएशन देखने को मिल रहे हैं, तो people have not accepted his idea of factors. Okay. Finally, though Mendel's work suggested that factors were discrete units, he could not provide any physical proof for the existence of factors or say that what they were made up of. क्योंकि अगर if you are saying a factor and you say that they are going from one generation to next generation, so you have to show that what are these factors. Okay, the physical proof should be there that yes, this is the physical factor genes. Today we know that genes are there and they are present in the form of DNA, which is the physical form of a gene. But in that time he was not able to do so. In 1900, three scientists, आपको ये नाम याद रखना है, De Vries, Correns and von Schermark, independently rediscovered Mendel's results in the inheritance of characters. Also by this time, due to advancements in microscopy that were taken place, scientists were able to carefully observe the cell division. This led to the discovery of structure in the nucleus that appeared to double and divide just before each cell division. These were called as chromosomes, okay, colored bodies. So by 1902, chromosome movement during meiosis had been worked out. Walter Sutton and Theodore Boveri noted that behavior of chromosome was parallel to the behavior of genes and used chromosome movement to explain Mendel's law. The Mendel ने जो भी काम किया था during 1850s, it was rediscovered in 1900 after almost 50 years. And in 1902, people started thinking that yes, maybe Mendel was right, maybe not exactly. So based on these observation of chromosomal movements during cell division and their duplication, then it led to the chromosomal theory of inheritance, that chromosomes are responsible for inheritance. The important thing to remember are that chromosomes as well as genes occur in pairs. So here at this time, at this moment, at 1902, when people were thinking chromosome and genes, so they are thinking that chromosome and genes are two different things. Okay, so Mendel said genes, they are saying chromosomes. Okay, gene are maybe like chromosomes. Okay, but later on they found out that yes, actually the genes are present on chromosomes. So Mendel was right. Okay, so this is a meiosis cross. Now there is a comparison between chromosomes and genes. So they occur in pairs, segregate at the time of gamete formation, such that only one of each pair is transmitted to a gamete, segregate at each time formation, and only one is independent pairs segregate independently of each other. One pair segregates independently of another pair. Can you tell which of them is chromosome and which of them is gene? बताओ भाई ए और बी में कौन क्रोमोसोम है? So you have to see that two words are there: independent pairs and one pair segregates. ऐसा लिखा है. Independent pairs and one pair segregates. You have to understand this thing. Neha,
Yes,
Neha.
yes.
हम्म हम्म बोलो.
सर ए वाला क्रोमोसोम है बी वाला जीन।
कैसे?
सर क्योंकि फर्स्ट मेयोटिक डिवीजन अगर होगा तो जो दो अ, एक जो एक क्रोमोसोम होगा तो मतलब
हम्म
दे आर एग्जिस्टिंग पेयर्स। फर्स्ट मेयोटिक डिवीजन में वो इंडिपेंडेंटली डिवाइड हो जाएंगे और
हम्म
सेकेंड सेकेंड वाले में सर
हम्म
फर्स्ट मेयोटिक डिवीजन में जीन पेयर्स में रहेंगे
हम्म
और सर
बबीना, बबीना.
A1 is B and B1 is chromosome.
A is gene and B is chromosome. Okay. How can you say this? A is gene and B is chromosome. Okay. Tell me how. ठीक है, इसको हम म्यूसिस देखते हैं, जैसे कि नेहा ने एक्सप्लेन किया, काफी हद तक सही है. उसको हम देखते हैं पहले क्या हो रहा है ना. ठीक है. So you see here that this orange and green are two pairs. Okay. Or and yellow and red are also two pairs. So orange and green can go in one, and yellow and red can go in one. And in the same way, orange and red can also go in one, and yellow and green can also go in one. So these are pairs which are independent of each other. So these are chromosomes. So independent pairs segregate independently of each other is chromosome. Okay. And one pair segregates independently of another pair, that is genes. Okay. So Sutton and Boveri proposed this theory of chromosomal theory of inheritance. So you have to remember this name, these two people, and Sutton united the knowledge of chromosome segregation with Mendelian principle and called it the chromosomal theory of inheritance. Okay, following this synthesis of idea, experimental verifications of chromosomal theory of inheritance by T.H. Morgan, Thomas and Morgan, and his colleagues led to discovering the basis of the variation that sexual reproduction produced. Morgan worked with the Drosophila melanogaster, which is fruit fly, which were found very suitable for such studies. They could be grown on simple synthetic medium in the laboratory. They complete their life cycle in about 2 weeks, and a single mating could produce a large number of progeny of flies. Also, there was a clear differentiation of the sexes, the male and female. You can easily identify male is small in size and female is bigger. Also, it has many type of hereditary variation that can be seen with a simple microscope, okay, low power microscope. So far we have discussed the three laws, and then there will be linkage and recombination, which is actually exception of law of independent assortment. So we will discuss this thing in our next lecture. Okay. So अभी तक का सभी को समझ आया?